Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we're here to talk about a very interesting update related to Garten of Banban 8, the highly anticipated next chapter. Like and subscribe please. In the past few days, Faris, one of the official developers of the series, has posted new messages, replying to some questions from the community. And even though these messages don't reveal any secrets or spoilers, they do give us some very intriguing clues about where the game might be heading. In today's video, we're going to read and comment together on some of these messages, trying to understand the direction of the game's development. But stay tuned because one of these messages is related to an old character. I'll take you on a journey through the previous chapters to talk about this old character who was at the center of attention in chapter 4 but then completely disappeared. I'm talking about Queen Bouncelia. Remember her? She is the queen of the kingdom of... and then she apparently died after the bitter giggles joke. Since then, the only mention about her was the scepter. As we saw in the second teaser picture, with Garten of Banban 8 on the way, it has been officially confirmed that there will be a connection to Queen Bouncelia. Indeed, in this new chapter, the symbol of her kingdom will come back. And today, we'll try to connect the dots from her story in chapter 4 to the latest news revealed about chapter 8. But before we begin, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any updates about Garten of Banban 8. I'm working on tons of new videos full of news, theories and deep analysis, and if you also leave a big like, you help me bring even more content to the channel. But now let's start with the main topics of the videos. And now let's dive into the heart of the theories. It all starts with a message posted on Discord where a user asked a very direct question to Faris. Faris, is there any chance to see the queen again? Faris's answer was, as always, quite cryptic. He clearly said that he can't answer that question. A predictable answer, but one that actually tells us much more than it seems, because even though Faris didn't confirm anything, we can still start connecting the dots and build some very solid theories based on what we already know. Let's begin with a key element. Queen Bouncelia's scepter. It was one of the most important objects in the story in the recent chapters. As you may recall, in chapter 6, a major part of our mission was to recover the scepter, because it was needed to stop Sir Dadadu and block the advance of the naughty ones. A tough mission, but one that held a surprise. The scepter was incomplete, it was missing a piece. And in chapter 7, we finally discover where the missing piece is. We learned that Syrinjon, the main mascot of chapter 7, had the other part of the scepter. In fact, at the end of chapter 7, we managed to complete the scepter, and this object, originally owned by Queen Bouncelia, once again takes on a central role in the story. And then we know what happened. That's why, even though Queen Bouncelia appeared to be dead at the end of chapter 4, her narrative legacy is still present. Not only that, it has become even more important. This makes us think about one thing. When an item connected to a character returns to the spotlight after so long, it means that character hasn't been forgotten by the developers. We don't know if she will come back to the life, but the Queen's story is continuing. As we saw in chapter 7, the scepter was finally reconstructed, but its story didn't end there. In fact, what happens at the end is one of the most unexpected and insane moments in the entire series. In the final cutscene, something completely out of control happens. Jumbo Josh, who was right there with us, apparently mistook the scepter for a giant lollipop. Yes, you heard that right. He picks it up, looks at it, and then decides to bite it. And with the very first bite, boom! The scepter explodes, unleashing all of its energy in a colorful and mysterious blast. But that scene, beyond being surreal, hides a very important detail that connects us directly to chapter 8 and most importantly, to Queen Bouncelia. In the third official teaser trailer for Garten of Banban 8, we see that Jumbo Josh actually survived the explosion. Not only that, the teaser only shows part of his head, but it's enough to notice something really strange. His color has changed. He's no longer green like before. Now Jumbo Josh has taken on a new shade, and it's exactly the same color as Queen Bouncelia. Coincidence? I don't think so. This is the first real visual and narrative link between Jumbo Josh and the Queen. The power of the scepter, which once belonged to Bouncelia, seems to have transformed Jumbo Josh. This tells us something very important. Even though Queen Bouncelia is not physically present, her influence keeps growing. Her narrative legacy hasn't ended. In fact, it's evolving and starting to affect other characters. And this is only the first direct connection between her and chapter 8. But we're not done yet, because now let's take a look at the second connection with Queen Bouncelia. But as we said before, Jumbo Josh isn't the only one connected to Queen Bouncelia, because there's a second clue that comes directly from the second official teaser picture of Garten of Banban 8. As we saw, this image revealed some important information. In this teaser image, we see a sword stuck in the Banban plushie. But this sword is not just any sword. If we look closely at the handle, we can spot a familiar symbol, the emblem of Queen Baunselia's kingdom. Yes, that's right, this sword comes from the Queen's kingdom, and that's not a minor detail, because it confirms once again that the elements of her realm are returning to the center of the story. Even though she hasn't appeared physically yet, her presence is clearly felt through objects, weapons, and now even attacks. But that's not all, because in the same teaser image, we can also see a secret hand, a hand shaped like a crab claw with a creepy and mysterious design. Who is this character? Why is it attacking the Banban plushie? And most importantly, how is it connected to Queen Baunselia? Well, there are many theories, but one is starting to feel more and more likely. This creature could have a direct link to the Queen's kingdom, and if that's really the case, then we're witnessing something even bigger, an expansion of the Queen's narrative universe. Not just the scepter, not just Jumbo Josh's color change, but also new characters, new weapons, and new threats all tied directly to the Queen. All of this leads us to one big conclusion. Even though Queen Baunselia disappeared in Chapter 4, her story is far from over. Her legacy is spreading, influencing the events in Chapter 8. But there's another character we absolutely cannot forget. I'm talking about Sheriff Toadster. Back in Chapter 4, we discovered that the Sheriff was a very important figure within Queen Baunselia's kingdom. He was her personal guardian, the one who protected the Queen and enforced the law of the realm. And that's why in the third teaser trailer for Garten of Banban 8, his appearance really shocked the fans, because he's not the same anymore. In the teaser trailer, we see him incredibly angry, with a sad expression and completely red eyes, a terrifying transformation and clearly not just visual. What happened to him? What caused this change? The answer, once again, leads us back to Queen Baunselia. It's very likely that his rage comes from the pain of losing the Queen. But that's not all. In Chapter 7, Sheriff Toadster suffered another emotional blow, the loss of Bittergiggle, one of his closest and most trusted friends. Two massive losses, one after the other, and all of those emotions, rage, grief, frustration, triggered something inside him. Now, Sheriff Toadster is no longer the protector we once knew. He seems completely out of control, consumed by an inner darkness that has turned him into a true threat. And many theories suggest that in Chapter 8, he might become one of our main antagonists, a former ally turned enemy, and once again we see how Queen Baunselia's presence is still deeply tied to the story, because it's her absence, her apparent death, that has caused this spiral of anger and vengeance in those who were closest to her. Sheriff Toadster is living proof that the Queen's legacy continues, but this time through devastating emotional consequences. At this point, it's time to stop and reflect for a moment, because if we really think about it, many of the events in the recent chapters have been directly influenced by Queen Baunselia, from the scepter unleashing new powers, to Jumbo Josh's transformation, all the way to Sheriff Toadster's emotional breakdown. She's the invisible thread behind everything that's happening. Even though she died in Chapter 4, Queen Baunselia never truly disappeared. She may be gone as a character, but not as a narrative force. Her legacy, her symbols, her connections, they're still alive, shaping every new twist in the saga. And who knows, maybe the Euphoric brothers have something big planned for her, something they can't and won't reveal just yet. All we can do is observe, theorize, and wait for the moment everything comes to light. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about Queen Baunselia's possible return to the story. I'll see you very soon with more videos full of mysteries and updates about Garten of Banban 8. Bye bye.